recording session.
I was in my home studio.
Working from home that day.
I wasn't expecting my phone to go off.
I was in the shower and I missed it.
I was actually with my father. I mean, he's like, who's calling you? Because I'm driving.
I was like tired, I had a rough day. And then I get the call.
I pick up the phone.
It's Esther. Hi, Stephanie.
And I was like, oh gosh, it's probably a no. Okay, whatever.
I'm like, get to it.
You said something like, I'm about to make your day. And then I'm trying to like be chill.
For a second, everything goes quiet. And then just a rush of excitement.
A good earth-shattering moment.
I burst into tears.
Heartbeats like, whoa.
Screamed and hollered. And I called my mama.
My father, he's like, you shouldn't be driving and talking at the same time. I'm like, Daddy, you gotta hold off on this one. I need to pull over.
And I took the rest of the day off, drank a glass of wine.
It took me a few days to really understand it.
It just felt really special to be recognized and seen.
To be able to get help and acknowledgement.
To receive that like external affirmation, it's really exciting.
I feel a lot of appreciation for that, and I'm honored just to be here.
Cecilia Beaven, visual artist. My work is grounded in painting and drawing, but from those two, my work expands and branches out. Animation, ceramics, paper mache sculptures, 16 millimeters film. And then I love when they can all come together, interact with each other in unexpected ways. The painting goes on top of a mural, and then there's a sculpture that comes out and maybe a projection on top. There's a couple of threads in my work. I love color. It's a very important part of my work since I was a kid. And then I'm very interested in mythology. Just like as a concept, it's such a human thing to try to explain the world through fiction. I'm Mexican, and the mythologies are mostly Aztec. So I bring them to my work, but then modifying these things and add my own character to kind of like break them apart or like be playful with them. There's like a character that I use is like an alligator that has to do with an Aztec myth about the creation of the world. And it's supposed to be like very powerful and kind of like a beast. But sometimes I end up drawing like a very funny looking alligator and I'm like, oh, and then I just go with it. I like the word ludic. It's just like a way to say playful, not playful as a kid, but playful as an adult with more intentionality. And even if I'm dealing with hard topics, that's a way in which I can access them. And it's also a way in which I can communicate with people more fluently. I'm telling stories for everyone. I really love when people from different cultures and very different backgrounds have all these stories that get triggered. So that's very beautiful.
Emily Rock Beisel, improviser, composer, and woodwind specialist. My work tends to be a combination of things that are totally improvised, but I generally have an idea of what space I want to occupy, what kind of sound world or what sort of set of techniques I want to use, but then giving myself the freedom to use them spontaneously. One of the reasons I'm really attracted to free improvisation is that it's breaking down those kind of like categories, labels, and barriers between different forms. My solo practice focuses on the bass clarinet, combined with analog electronics, using guitar pedals and an amplifier to take what the instrument can do and what my voice can do and extend that to be larger than the instrument by itself. Sometimes I like to go to the extreme of what a pedal can do. Those are oftentimes the less utilized sounds, but they can also be the most interesting. There's freedom in how you get to interpret what the sound is, what it means to you. When I'm creating, I'm looking for the same thing that I am when I'm listening. I want something that will fascinate me and make me feel like I don't know what this is and I'm not quite sure where it's going.
Imania Fatima Dietrich, professional performing dancing artist, choreographer, hairstyling artist, and vibe dealer. People are like, well, what is your style? What style of dance do you do? And I'm like, well, it's my vibes. Then she can be my first lady like Michelle. Hey. A lot of people, when they see me, they say, go Monty, go Monty. Like for real, when I'm with you, I feel like myself, yeah. Monty vibes. And what is that? That's a culmination of the different styles that develop who I am. West African dance to street style dancing to what I'm feeling in the moment and how I can connect that with the next person. Connecting West African dance with contemporary style dancing comes from me teaching in the schools. Schools like, yes, we want the culture, but the kids like, I don't want to do that. I don't know what that is. So then I would put on music that was current. But then I'll start doing the African dance step and then they will want to move. And for me, that became a revelation to knowing how much we were so connected and separate. When people see me dance, they say, I see pure joy. So that's really what I want people to take from when they see me, is knowing that it's coming from a place of loving to do it.
Stephanie Manriquez, writer, journalist, radio and audio producer, and teaching artist. I like to work with joy and live searching for happiness. I always say that my first love was radio.
Bienvenidos a la sala. Welcome to Sala.
Radio is one of the most passive mediums that you can find. When you have a magazine or TV or your YouTube channel, you have to be intentional and sit down. Radio is that medium that can connect other communities from local to global. It gives you a sense of belonging. I have had a lot of mentors in my life. So when my path crossed into being able to reciprocate that, I think I took it. It's magical to see when you share knowledge. It's rewarding. I like projects that have some kind of teachings and learnings at the same time. Some of them work, some don't, but I like to explore and experiment and experience things that we are not used to in our communities. Because I think in our communities, we don't have a lot of resources. Working with youth, you have to show your humanity because there's no perfect human. Everyone experiences angriness, self-doubt, sadness. So you need to learn how to be vulnerable in front of people for them to find their path. When they find that voice, they become unstoppable.
Shariba Rivers, actor. Acting, it's something that just feeds my soul.
Can you please stop talking?
How you gonna tell me to stop talking in my own house? You got some nerve.
I am a late to the party actor. I started acting in my early 40s. But once I started, I think for the next several years, I stayed on stage, any stage that I could get to, almost nonstop. I love every single piece of it. I like auditioning. I like trying to figure out the characters. And I really like doing new work. You see the aha lights with the playwrights when you're doing new work with them. You see them with the actors who are sitting around the table or in the room. It's magic.
What if she missed me? You don't know. Ain't no return address on that package. You ever think about why?
I want people to leave having some type of conversation with each other. I want audiences to sit up, to lean in, even if they don't agree. Lean over to your neighbor and introduce yourself. We need to stop being afraid to say, that's not my truth, but I'd like to hear more. You know, I never knew that, so let's talk about it. If we do that, we'll be in a much different place in this country. I'm a teacher for the past 30 years, and I teach African-American children specifically and particularly. I want African-American children to have representation in front of them. Being a teacher or acting, I wanted to show my children that ordinary people can do extraordinary things.
Rich Robbins, hip hop recording artist and performing artist, poet, educator, and TV host. I hope that my work is a space of healing. Poetry was just kind of the home that I could learn to cope with feelings of grief. Poetry became music, and music became hosting other spaces for other artists and became hosting a television show. The Soft and Tender Show, a show that is a living room style interview series where I sit down with young Black men and we discuss fatherhood. It was created based off of a song that I wrote called Soft and Tender, which is an exploration of my relationship with my father.
My pops taught me if you can't win the fight with your brain, you could definitely throw hands, be prepared for the sprain.
I think what's similar amongst all of the things that I do is that community element. As much as I want to be like, I came up by myself, I didn't. I've had a lot of support from various places. I am here today because so many people believe that I could be here today. And so, everything that I do, from the open mic to the TV show to the music, it's all collaborative efforts. We are here right now to just be our best selves. As grand as that kind of seems in any of those spaces, it makes sense. It clicks. I just have to be present. I don't have to try to do anything. I don't have to try to be something, and that's good enough. And so I think all of these spaces are built so that people can come to them and just be good enough, and that's it.
Farah Salem, interdisciplinary artist and art therapist. My artwork, it's for me to remind myself of my relationship between the body and the landscapes, how this world is beyond me and a concrete building that I live in. I still have such a visceral memory of the first time I saw a green mountain. I was just like, oh, it's a green giant. And I felt that in my body. And I still feel it every time I pull up that memory. And when I think of my ancestors, their whole livelihood depended on their relationship with the land. And that really stuck with me. There's a connection of respect and reciprocity with the land that we live on. I work with photo, video, performance, installation. For me, the medium is a way to communicate what I'm trying to work with. It allows me to unfold what a lived experience might mean for me in the present of my body or a body has endured in relationship to the land that it's passing on. I've always been super observant and very curious, documenting what I was observing in the way that I was observing it. We all have different perspectives, and I feel that we could share these perspectives and really bring each other's awareness to something far beyond a limited or rigid way of looking at life. Because I think sometimes we forget that we live on this land, and that causes a lot of internal disconnect for us. And that is a wound to be healed together.
Levi Wilkins, lighting designer.
I think that theater is the most important form of communication that we have as a human race. You got to keep telling these stories so that we can evolve as a society. Lighting is just the strongest skill in theater I have to flex. You know what I mean? I'm very heavy-handed in color. I'm very heavy-handed in texture. I'll read the play and I'll say, okay, now what does this make me feel? And what color is that feeling? Or how can we make this color represent something different? The color red can mean so many different things. And it's just about how I apply it as a lighting designer that can tell you what it's supposed to mean in that moment. It could mean rage. It could mean love. Being able to talk with my lighting and being able to teach the audience a language to watch the show with. It's I can help tell that story. I can help be funny. I can help be sad. I can help the emotions of the audience with what I do. It should just not be oh, I'm lighting this scene because this is what's appropriate for the moment. But I want lighting to be another character on stage with the actors. Aiding in that storytelling is what fascinates me the most about lighting and theater together.
Robbie Lee Williams, dancer. Dance is a great way for people to understand their body, to process the somatic things that happen to us when we feel different emotions. So physically integrated dance is the practice of creating and making dances with non-disabled and disabled people, using the intentionality of what does this art form look like with us as our whole selves. My main dance before I was injured was Argentine tango. And the thing that I loved about it was connection. You're meeting with another person, they're giving you the privilege of moving around with them. And there's this constant conversation without words. And so an early topic, I guess, for a lot of my early stuff is pain. No matter who you are, you understand pain, you have pain, and that's a way that we can connect with each other. And it's interesting searching through connection through these different emotions. The larger disability dance community is incredibly accepting, and it's important to me that I give back. I teach every Thursday, And the most fun that I get out of it is when I give the students an idea and they create something just completely out in left field. Seeing people discover, just have the permission to kind of be themselves, those moments are a big motivator for me. For people out there who are too afraid to dance, understand that there are people around you who they love to see you when you're happy, when you're at your best. Even if it is goofy or messy, just get out there and do it.
Wani Zarur, composer, arranger, multi-instrumentalist, and community builder. As a composer, you draw from your lived experience, and in my case, I'm a Palestinian American and I straddle both worlds, and I've listened to these two musics, Arabic and Middle Eastern music. At the same time, I studied jazz, so it's just kind of a natural expression of who I am as a person. Middle Eastern music is based on a microtonal modal tradition that plays notes that are in between the black and white keys of a piano, so the piano doesn't play it. What I do is I figure out how to use the jazz framework by changing aspects of how the harmony works and moves. It takes a little tinkering and rigging to make things work. But musicians from both jazz tradition and the Arabic music tradition can essentially operate in this framework. There are 80 people in the Middle East Music Ensemble now. Musicians with different backgrounds and different abilities can be in one space so that we have more communities interacting with each other who would not interact outside of music. Music has this power and this ability to transcend borders and bring people together and communities together.
Chicago is my foundation.
It's home, you know what I mean? I was born and raised on the South Side.
The motherland for me.
Anything you want to do, there's a space to do it here.
Spaciousness to explore my artistic ideas, my voice.
It's a place that acts as an incubator to try different things that are almost impossible in other cities.
It's unmatched.
It feels like everybody wants you to be there.
And they all work together for the same goals, to uplift each other and grow together.
We support each other and give each other opportunities to succeed.
It is a different class of people who aren't afraid of hard work, who aren't afraid of having difficult conversations, and they're incredibly loving.
Chicago feels so rich culturally.
And I've met so many wonderful people from so many different corners of the world.
And then I add my voice to that, so it feels great.
I couldn't do what I do anywhere else.